What is up, you guys? Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, make sure you subscribe and turn on your post notifications. And I'm not going to make some long intro. I am going to say, please keep all your negative comments to yourself. If I see too many negative comments, I will disable the comments. As you can tell by the title of this video, this is a very serious topic. It's a very emotional topic. I'm going to try my best not to get emotional. I'm just going to give you guys the straight facts. So without further ado, let's just get into the video. Okay, so I didn't say who I was. My name is Shyla. This is Shy Vlogs, and like I said, my name is Shyla, and I am the daughter of a convicted murderer. It took me so long to be able to say that, just that sentence, because I mean that's a harsh reality to have. I'm going to take you guys down the timeline of what happened with my dad's situation, and I'm going to do my best to not cry, because the ins and the outs and how I feel, and I'm going to try to explain to you everything. Alright, so this is my dad, Martez Smith. He was born June 5th, 1969 in Waterloo, Iowa. My dad's mom was killed when he was 13 years old, and he was raised by my grandmother. His father, his grandmother, which was his mother's mom, and his father was alive, but he wasn't really a hands-on dad. He was kind of an alcoholic. So I'm telling you all this because it'll all make sense deeper into this video. On November 25th, 2014, it was a pretty normal day. My brother, which is my dad's son, was over at my house, and we were playing cards with his then girlfriend and then my husband. And my mom called me. It had to be like 8 or 9 o'clock at night, and she called me and she asked me had I talked to my dad. I do want to remind you or add in that this was the day before Thanksgiving. So my mom called me and she said to me, she asked me had I spoke to my dad, and I told her no, because at that time I was in an argument with my dad, so I hadn't spoken with him for a couple of days, because like I said, we were in an argument, you know, parents argue with the kids. And so I asked my brother, I'm like, have you talked to dad? And he was like, yeah, I seen him yesterday or earlier that day. And I'm like, well, my mom said that we need to call him because something's going on with him. So I tried to call him. He didn't answer his phone. I was like, he just thinks I'm calling to argue. And my brother called him and he didn't answer. So then I was like, So then I just kind of chilled for a second, and I called my grandma Jewel. And I asked her, well, as soon as she answered the phone, she asked who I was, or she recognized my voice, and she said, she said, oh, your dad's in trouble, and the police just came up here looking for him, and he got in a fight with that boy, and she was pretty upset. So I knew that my dad was probably going back to jail again. My dad spent the majority of my childhood incarcerated. He was sentenced to 12 years when I was in elementary school, so a majority of my childhood he was incarcerated, and then after those 12 years he did another 2 years. So he's been in the judicial system for quite some time. So it wasn't like not normal for me. I mean, it's not normal for anybody to get used to somebody being locked up, but it wasn't not normal for me to hear my dad is probably about to go back to jail, okay? Even during those years, he was very active in my life, as active as he could be, and I did go spend a lot of time with him in the summers. My family would take me to go see him. So after speaking with my grandmother, I started to get a little bit worried, because my grandma's a pretty strong lady, and to hear her so upset, I knew that it had to be something serious. So about an hour or so passed, and my mom calls me again. And at this time, her tone changed. She's like, Shyla, have you talked to your dad? And I'm like, no. She's like, have you talked to your grandma? I'm like, yeah. She said, I explained to her what she said to me. And she was like, well, your dad got in a fight with, we'll call the victim Matt, and he stabbed him. And they're saying that it's not looking good for him. And I'm like, oh my God, what? Like, I can't believe this. And I'm all over the place. My emotions just went crazy because not only was my dad in deep trouble, the victim was my sister's first cousin. My sister and I have different dads. We have the same mom, obviously, and like I said, my dad was incarcerated a large majority of my life, and so my sister's dad's family, they accepted me with open arms into their family, like literally. I was at every family reunion. All her aunts and all her uncles, I call them Aunt so-and-so, Aunt, Uncle so-and-so. Her dad's parents, I call them Grandma and Grandpa. I spent the night with these people. They did my hair. I mean, they're my family. Like, they were my family. Like, I literally felt like I had an extra grandma and like a bonus dad and everything. It was perfect. So when I found out who the victim was, I was like, oh my God. Like, in that moment, I still cannot put into words the emotion that I felt. Like, I was upset, I was sad, I was hurt, I was embarrassed, I was everything, because not only am I probably about to lose my dad for the rest of my life, but the family that always was there for me when I didn't have my dad, or when my sister, summer vacations, or they just always included me. I lost them in that moment too. So fast forward to the next day. By this time, the victim had passed away. My dad had been arrested, and I went to go visit him in jail. I went to go visit my dad in jail, and it was emotional. I've never seen my dad cry in my entire life. Like, in my 28 years of life at that point, I had never seen my dad cry. And I obviously went to see him. He was behind glass, and I picked up the phone, and we literally cried for the first 5 minutes, because my dad knew that he had put me in a tough spot. Like, he knew that he put me in a tough spot, because he knew the dynamics of that being my mom's ex-husband's family. He knew that those people were always there for me. He knew that I was extremely close with the victim. I was extremely close with that particular cousin. Like, we were Facebook friends. You know, I'd see him in passing. He'd do the old grab me by my neck, how you doing? I can't believe how old you are. We were close. So he knew that I was in a horrible situation. Not only was he in a horrible situation, but I think my dad may have felt worse for me than he did for himself in that moment, because there was nothing I could do about it. And I had to make a choice. Do I be there for my dad, or do I stick with this family that's been there for me? And obviously, I'm always going to choose my dad. But at the end of the day, my love for them has never changed. My respect for them will definitely never change. And it was messed up. So me and my dad talked, and he explained to me what happened, and it was just, man, it was tough. So fast forward to January of 2015, my dad was then charged with first-degree murder, okay? So initially he was only charged with domestic assault. And then he was charged with first-degree murder in January of 2015. So everything changed. My life changed. I was going to lawyer appointments. I was doing everything that my dad asked me to do. Anything that he needed me to do, I was there for him, because I knew that if the shoe was on the other foot, he would have done that and more for me. So I'm gonna fast forward to January of 2016, when the trial began, and again, another tough moment in my life, because now I have to go be the defendant's daughter against a family that has loved me my entire life. So I sat in this courtroom for 2 weeks, every single day, not a day missed, across from this family that has loved me. I mean, I can't explain how much they loved me. I've been there. I've always been their niece. I've never felt like the stepchild. I've never been Kyla's sister. I've never just been Shannon's oldest daughter. I've been Shyla. That's our niece. That's my cousin. That's my granddaughter. That's just what it has always been. And now I'm sitting across from them because my dad, my birth father, the man that, my reason for being, killed somebody in that family. Or was being, you know, going through the motions to be charged. I don't know if it was harder, what moment was harder, walking into the courtroom for the first time and you know that everybody's looking at you and I have to sit behind the defendant, or the breaks. During the recesses during court, you know, everybody goes into the hallway, and obviously the victim's family is all huddled in one section and the defendant's family is all huddled in one section. And then there was me. I was just there. I was just there in the moment. Even in this video right here, I was just there. You can see my husband recorded this little clip. I was just sitting there and everybody around. And it was just like how you see a movie and everything is like the person is sitting in the middle and everything around them is moving but they can't see anything. That's how I felt. I was so numb, and I don't know how to explain how I feel. I sat there, I listened to all the 911 calls, I listened to all the drugs and alcohol that my dad consumed and the victim consumed on that day, which made them alter the way that they thought and, you know, their actions. I'm not making an excuse for the situation, but I know that if my dad was not inebriated, he would not have reacted the way that he did. So fast forward to 14 days later, the trial's over, we're waiting for a verdict. I get the call that the verdict is in. Okay, I know that I knew what was coming, but there's no way to prepare yourself for that. There's no way to prepare yourself for the judge going to tell you that your dad is going to be serving the rest of his life in prison, okay? There's no way to prepare yourself to physically have a dad, but not, to emotionally have your dad, but not physically. So I feel like on that day, my dad died physically. He's here in a physical sense, but as far as I can call my dad and say, Dad, my tire just blew off. Can you think you can come help me? I can't do that. Dad, I want to come over, and me and my dad are huge Minnesota Vikings fans. Dad, let's go to a Vikings game. I can't do that. Everything changed, like everything changed. There's no outdate, there's no countdown for him to come home. There's none of that. It's just a hope that one day maybe the case will be overturned. Maybe we'll find some loopholes. And that may sound selfish to some people, but at the end of the day, I'm still human. I have moments all the time about my dad, and I felt like it was so important for me to put this video out there, because the way that these young boys are out here shooting each other and killing each other and not thinking about their kids, the emotional state that you put your child through when you make a bad decision is a lifetime, long-term effect. My kids, my youngest two kids, they have no clue who my dad is, because he's been gone. He's been gone all these last 4 years, you know? So they hear me talking about my dad, but to them, he's just a made-up figure. He's like Santa Claus, you know what I'm saying? And I don't feel comfortable taking my kids, especially my son, into a place like that to visit my dad. And I know people say, oh, that is so mean, and they need to know who their grandfather is, but I never want my son to feel like that is okay and that it's normal to go to jail or go to prison. I don't want any of my kids to feel like that. I feel like once they're old enough and I'm able to explain to them, because my youngest two are 6 and 4, maybe then I'll be able to take them. But until they're at least 10 or 11, I'm not taking my kids to see my dad in a situation like this. I do want to say that although I've said all these things and I've explained this situation about my dad, the family of the victim is still my sister's family. My sister is in a tough spot as well, because that is my sister. Me and my sister are like bread and butter, white on rice, and thick as thieves. There's nothing coming between me and my sister. But at the end of the day, my sister has close relationships with her first and second cousins, and I never thought that being around these people would make me feel so uncomfortable. I never felt so uncomfortable in my life running into them, and they tried so hard to make it just be to remind me and let me know that, you know, Charlotte, it's not your fault. But I know that I'm a constant reminder of what happened on November 25th, 2014. I know that when I see his dad, the man that I used to call uncle, I know that it triggers, like, man, it's a reminder. Like, your dad did this to me after all the things we did for him over the years. After coming to, I mean, just being there for me. Like, they just were there. Like, I feel like if the victim would have been somebody else that I didn't know, that I wouldn't be so emotionally connected to my dad's case. But I have a hard time with this. When I tell you a hard time, people post things on Facebook about their dads and like, oh, my dad did this and my dad did that. I have to send my dad a message through a system that somebody else reads, and he may get it that day, he may not get it. I can't call my dad for anything unless it's a family emergency. God forbid something serious happens to me, I can't call him to be there for me. I don't feel comfortable talking to my sister about my dad, and like I said, me and my sister are very close, but I don't feel comfortable talking to my sister about my dad because that is my dad's, my sister's first cousin. Like, bro, this is just, I don't know. I feel like this is like a nightmare, like it's a bad dream, and I feel like I wish my dad would have made better choices. I wish that I would have been a better daughter and not been so upset about little things that I could have changed. I wish I could have put him into a treatment or got him a therapist or whatever I could have done to prevent November 25th, 2014. I wish I wouldn't have been so selfish and just being upset because he was, the reason why me and my dad was in an argument is because when I had my youngest daughter in August of 2014, he wasn't there. He was there for my son and he wasn't there for my daughter, and I was upset because I knew that he chose not to come because he had been drinking. He knew how I felt about him drinking, and so he decided to not show up. So I wasn't talking to him because I was being selfish, kind of, but then again, I'm like, man, like, you missed everything, and the milestones in my life that I asked you to be there for, you could at least be there for those reasons, for those things. Like, come on, Dad, you know, if I could change anything or everything, if I had one thing, if somebody gave me a genie and they said, you can have $1 million, $10 million, or you can bring Mark back to life and free your dad, I would definitely choose that in a heartbeat. My life has been so hard without my dad. I can't emphasize how hard my life has been without. To the young boys that may watch this video, or to my young ladies that are dating somebody that is deep in these streets, sweetheart, you need to show him this video and let him know that his actions, or even if you're a female and you're in these streets, your actions, and if you have kids, it will totally ruin it. It puts an emotional damper in your kids' lives. There's sometimes that I literally go into my bathroom and I just cry because I have to let it out. I can't hold it in, and that's the problem. I just hold it all in because I really don't feel comfortable talking to anybody about this. I talk to my husband from time to time, but I feel like he's probably getting sick of me and my emotional breakdowns because nobody understands how I feel. Like, nobody understands how I feel. I can't say that enough in this video. Nobody understands how I feel because of the dynamic of the situation. You have to think about your kids and everything that you do. There's no way my dad was thinking about me or my siblings in that moment. It was no way my dad was thinking about me when he was drinking and snorting cocaine and all kinds of drugs that day. There's no way he was thinking about us. And that is the main reason for this video. My dad knows that I'm posting this video. I actually just spoke to my dad and he's okay with it. He knows that I need an outlet. Like, I have to let this out. And like I said, January 27th, 2016 changed my life forever. I don't know, you guys. I don't even want to say I hope you enjoyed this video, but that's my truth. That's me. I am Shyla, and I'm the daughter of a convicted murderer who is serving a life sentence without parole, without the possibility of parole, and my dad will be where he's at until he takes his last breath, and it's a hard pill to swallow. It's probably harder for me to swallow than it is for him to swallow because he's so institutionalized that he's used to somebody. That's when he's at his best behavior, is when he's in jail. But for me, it's not easy. It's not easy at all. Birthdays, Father's Days, holidays, Sundays because of football, somebody posts something about their dad, it triggers. I have therapists. I think sometimes it affects my marriage because I get so upset because my emotions, and I have so much on my plate, and I feel like my mom raised me my entire life by herself, so I feel like I owe it to her to have it figured out. So I oftentimes don't ask for help, and I bottle it up. It has a lot to do with my weight gain. It has a lot to do with me making this YouTube channel, because I feel like if nobody else will listen, this damn camera is gonna listen to me, and somebody on the other side of the world might understand, or might just click on my video and listen. So sometimes I might just get on here and ramble about my dad, but just know that I'm doing that because I need to, and I need to let it out. So I'm gonna go ahead and end this video because it's getting much longer than it intended. Make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe, and share this video. Leave a comment down below if you guys would like a more in-depth detail of the actual trial. I'm really proud of myself for not crying, but I've been crying all last night, all yesterday, so I got it all out so I could get this video out to you guys. I appreciate your support, and this video, like I said, is just to get the message out that think, do, think, not do, think, do. Think about what you're gonna do before you actually do it. That's just all I can say. You're more than welcome to look up his case, and I appreciate you guys watching, and I will see you in my next video.